Hello, everyone. This is Ashley with Court Reserve. Thank you so much for joining us today for our education webinar series. We are going to be learning all about the Case Tennis Center located at Lafortune Park in Tulsa, Oklahoma. They just survived another winter storm, I've heard, so they're very excited to be thawing out today. We have Melissa McCorkle, who is the director of the tennis facility, and we have Liz Bateman, the office manager, who is the behind the scenes of all things at the center. So thank you guys so much for being here today.
We're happy to be here.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to learn all about what you guys do today. So I'd love to just start out about both of you, your background in tennis, how you got started, and we'll just go from there.
Okay, well, I'll start first. Like Ashley said, I'm the director of tennis for the Tulsa County Parks and specifically Lafortune Park Tennis Center. My background is in education. I taught elementary school and coached high school tennis for 18 years. And this facility was a bit run down. We had 12 courts and needed a lot of work. And so a friend of mine talked me into giving it a try because we needed to revive a little bit in Tulsa, tennis in Tulsa. So we are now 20 years later, and we have 24 courts, 3 are indoor, and the 21 outdoor have all been totally torn up and redone or added. So really fabulous facility that we have here right in the middle of Tulsa. We were the USTA featured facility of the year. So that's kind of our big accolade that we like to brag about. And we get lots of people visiting from out of town. And then, of course, our people love the facility, the way it's laid out. And we like to brag about it.
That's awesome. Now, are you a hard court facility on the outside?
Correct. We're hard court, both inside and out.
Okay. And tell us about your lights and ball machines and other things about the facility.
Okay, well, we have the Musco lighting on all of our outdoor courts. So we have not converted to LED yet, but that's soon to happen. But we have really fabulous lights that stadium lights that are very high that the people really like, don't get in their eyes. So inside we have converted all to LED, three indoor courts. So those lights are all LED. So really good lighting in there as well, indirect. So the lighting shines off the ceiling. And yeah, we have lots of activities going on. We have a pro shop. So we sell, minimal merchandise, what people need, and a few logos and some fun kind of perks. We sell a lot of rackets and a lot of shoes at this time, especially after the COVID year. That really went up in sales. And so people like to shop local, tennis players if they can. So they are taking advantage of what we offer there too.
And you guys string on site?
We do string. We have not a full-time stringer, but pretty available all the time. So we have about a 24-hour delay on stringing, but keep up with it pretty good.
Okay, that's awesome. And your entryway, the kind of front desk, I'm assuming you guys have a front desk. People kind of go through the front desk to get to your court. It's kind of a check-in process.
Yeah, and now I'll introduce Liz because she is the office manager. So she kind of handles that front desk scene and does all the greeting and those kind of people. So Liz is a tennis player and now a pickleball player a little bit. So she just loves tennis like all of us. So that's how we snagged Liz into the job, and she does a great job up at the front. So yeah, everything is online. Once we converted to Court Reserve and scheduling, we went totally all scheduling is done on the app. Has made a world of difference. We have 7,500 members. Although we are a public facility, there is no memberships because, in my opinion, if it says public, that means no membership, but that's just my personal opinion. So everything they do out here, they pay for as they go. So they can reserve courts outdoor, they can reserve courts indoor, they can reserve pickleball courts. And we also have a facility next door that it's a community center, and they use our app, Court Reserve app, to reserve the courts over there as well. So we manage that pickleball in a different location just across the parking lot. So that's worked out really well for us. The one thing that we haven't done, we were very successful on our ball machine, but they cannot make a a reservation with the ball machine only because we have limited outlets outside and our ball machine is electric. So it gets a little confusing which court that could go on. And sometimes we have to juggle things around to make that ball machine work. And so that's why we haven't gone to that yet, but that should come someday.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you. So I did hear you say pickleball. It's kind of a hot topic in tennis these days.
Mhm.
And so you don't have pickleball lines on your tennis courts. It's basically across the road at the community center.
Well, we do not have designated pickleball courts here at the facility, but on Fridays afternoon, we tape one of our indoor courts for pickleball play. And so we'll have pickleball on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And we take that tape off for the Monday through Friday tennis crowd. They don't like that so much. And the lessons don't mind, just tennis lessons don't mind those pickleball lines on the court. Just, of course, a match would not like all those lines going on. So pickleball, we've had to kind of do it slowly and pick times that tennis players aren't really using anyway. So it's worked out pretty good on that way. During the outdoor season, it would grow as big as we would let it, but we're kind of keeping a rein on it only because our tennis is so successful and needs those courts as often as possible. But we do love it. So we're hoping someday that happens, that we could have some designated pickleball courts.
So is there room to grow and build other courts at your facility?
We do have some land that we're actually getting ready to build 3 more indoor courts. That should start by summer. And then there is still a little bit of land left that we could add some pickleball courts eventually if we can get that kind of money.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those watching, go ahead and enter your questions in the chat feature. We will answer those questions a little bit later on in the webinar, just so we can kind of make sure we get out as much education and information today. So just to go back, so you're a public facility, so you get your funding from, I guess, your state, county, local Parks and Rec?
Correct. The facility is Tulsa County owned. I'm a contract employee, so I contract the programming.
Okay. So when you go to fight for more courts or staffing, it's basically a budgetary or grant money, things like that.
Correct. We've raised over $12 million, and at least half of it, probably more like 75%, has been private money. So we have done a lot of fundraising in the last 20 years, a lot of fundraising.
Can you just give us some ideas about what that looked like, just quickly, fundraisers that you were able to put together to raise those funds for your facility?
Well, of course, we had to go to some largest donors, and you want to get those first. You know, if you can get somebody on board that will really step up and give you a big chunk of money, then it's easier to go to those smaller type founders that will fund some more of the rest of it. We've had lots of activities and socials to raise smaller dollars, and so everybody feels a part of what we've accomplished. But the big key is to go get those big donors first, as you know. And if we're fortunate that we have some good tennis people in town that have jumped on the bandwagon, so we're really grateful for that.
That's
but
awesome.
We have really fun events. We call them the tennis ball. They happened yearly there for a little bit. Now they're about every 3rd year. So we all dress up on the tennis court, have a big party, dinner, ask for a lot of money, and have a great time. Our last year, actually, our money was not for the facility, but we went to our First Serve program, which is our 501c3 program for kids with special needs and underprivileged kids after school. So
that's
we
amazing.
we try to keep it fun around here, do all the activities that we can to improve and continue to keep up the place.
I love it.
Along with the public money.
For sure, yeah. So tell me, I know Liz is here as your office manager, but tell us a little bit about your staff and what that looks like for a facility of your size.
Okay, well, we have somebody at that front desk, 24/7. There's somebody there manning the desk. We have you want to help me out on that one?
Yeah, not quite 24/7.
Yeah.
Quite.
I was like, wow, tennis 24/7.
Yeah, we're open from 8 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock in the evening. So we have several shifts that we cover. We have just one person at the desk, and then there's sometimes that we might overlap some people during really heavy times when we have USTA matches going on, or we have tournaments, or we have the junior program. There's a lot of people, and so we might bring in 2 people for that particular time. So we have a desk staff, and then she's of course in charge of all of the pros.
Yeah,
you can.
So we have 9 full-time pros, and then seasonal, we have more staff that comes in to help us out, and a couple of part-time here all through the year. So we stay pretty busy with.
Okay. And when it comes to your pros, do you assign what they teach and then their lessons as well? Or how does that work there at the facility?
Well, just because we're all different ages and genders, I look them over first and kind of decide who might be best fit for this particular lesson. Little kids, we have someone that works well with the little kids, and then senior adults, some that work better with senior adults. So we've kind of got that figured out pretty well, that we know how to divvy those lessons out according to who would work best with that particular person, or sometimes it's just a time thing. They can only come at this time, so this pro is a good fit for them because they can handle that time period. So.
And you do that the same way with classes?
The classes, so we have what's called a build a drill. So once people get acquainted, they come to an open drill. So that's kind of one way we get people to start back into tennis, as we call it an open drill. And we have those all 7 days of the week. And so they can start in either the novice level or just an open drill. And we assign them to a different court according to their level, 3-0, 3-5, 4-0, whatever it may be. And then they become acquainted with friends. That's kind of the way it all works in tennis. The social aspect of it steps in. Then they build their own groups with a pro. And sometimes they just ask the pro directly, which is fine. And sometimes I help them out on that. And then it kind of keeps going, because then they join teams. And one thing that's important to know, we have 250 USTA league teams here at our facility. So it's kind of the way it all works. Starts with open drills or the beginner lessons. Our beginner lessons are super successful. We have 6 weeks of lessons that just follow each other, continue to happen each Monday and Thursdays. And we hope to add more this year, because Liz, how many are on the wait list?
Yeah, I mean, we will have up to 16 people on a wait list for those adult programs. They are highly sought after, and people really, really enjoy them. So we have a level 1, and then we have a level 2, and then we encourage them to move on into the novice program. But they really love those 6-week sessions, and there's quite a demand for it.
So you guys really have progressive programming. Yeah, that's amazing. Okay. And so who decides when, after that 6 weeks, if they need to go to another 6 weeks, or they can move on?
Usually the pro that's teaching that particular class, because as everybody knows, it's, you might start with a group of ladies or friends, and some may have had some prior experience, so they're going to move on a little bit faster, or it could be to do with age or anything. So usually the pro helps them to decide what the next step is. Sometimes it's obvious, sometimes not, sometimes they need a little assistance on deciding that.
Now, do you work with ratings to kind of give them a rating and then kind of help them to keep up with their rating, or is that something that's really on the player?
We try to help the beginner players, really come up with a plan to, this is probably where you should start. We want them to start as low as possible, because with the rating system, the computer will bump them to where they need to be. So we try to guide, especially those lower players, or even those that are returning back to tennis after a pause in their life for some reason. So we try to keep everybody at the correct rating, not let them get up there too high at the beginning, for sure.
So tell us about your.
We have 11 2-5 teams. So
you have 11
2-5 women's teams. Yes. So good. Yeah.
We're all going to go to Tulsa. Wow, that's amazing. Wow. Tell us about your junior programs or your kids programs. What does that look like at the facility, and how many kids versus adults are you guys working with?
So our kids program, we follow the USTA guidelines with the red balls, the orange balls, and follow all that progression. So we keep our kids in those particular classes according to that. We probably have our adults probably outnumber our kids, but a lot of those adults came from their kids coming to their junior lessons and things, but we host a lot of tournaments here. So it's a good progression for our kids to go from the red ball to the orange and then the green and then to USTA team tennis. We have lots of match plays opportunities for the kids. So we keep those kids pretty busy too.
And so you have classes throughout the year. Do you have any camps like spring break or summer camps that are different than your classes for your adults and your kids?
We do have spring break camps for the kids. And then also all summer long, we have summer camps for kids. And those are kids that are probably not in our junior program, but they may be interested afterwards after a few weeks of camp. That works out really good in the progression as well, just to get kids interested and the ones that really like it move on to something a little bit more serious and in the step-by-step process.
Now, other than your kind of progression programs, what are some of the most popular classes that, maybe the adults love that maybe you were like, oh, I'm not sure this is going to work, but then it really took off?
Well, for sure, our open drills are the most popular because, if you start back to tennis and you don't know anybody, again, this is a good place to go and just not feel uncomfortable because there's going to be 6 other people on the court that are kind of in your same situation. So I think we just provide opportunities where it's not, in a lack of a better word, not awkward for the player, that they feel super comfortable to come and welcomed and know that, this was meant just for that particular person or type of person that's ready to play tennis again. They might be a little bit out of shape but none of that matters at that point. Once you get there, you're just going to hit the ball, run around and have a lot of fun, not make it too serious. And then once you're ready to really get a little bit more technical and really go on to match play, then they're going to get more interested with the pros specifically and get more specific instructions. But that open drill has probably been our most successful kind of activity. And one thing I will say is you just have to stay consistent with it, be, really patient because it takes a little bit to happen. And then you're going to have waiting lists that you can't handle all the people that come. But it's definitely been probably huge growing part to our program.
Now,
I would say the novice league as well, it has a very high demand here. So this is, people that are ready to start learning how to play a match. And Melissa has wonderful pros that will come out and just kind of walk them through how to score, how to, she does a really good job with that. And there's a huge demand for the novice league.
You try not to throw them to the wolves too soon.
For sure. Nothing worse. So I've heard you talk about your, tennis classes. Do you have any classes or any progression on the pickleball side, or is it more just an open play at this point?
We do have opportunities for them to learn in a group situation and then private lessons. Right now in the winter, when we're only doing the limited amount, we are only doing open play at our facility, and it's kind of a core group right now, pretty much the same players. And then they'll schedule their private lessons with our pickleball pros at the other location that I mentioned. So it works out pretty good. Liz, like I said, is on the bandwagon of pickleball, and she brings people out on Friday nights. How many do you have, Liz?
I've been having about 32 people come into my 8 to 10 o'clock at night, Friday nights, pickleball. It's mostly my kids' friends, but yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Okay. A lot of demand for pickleball right now.
So on the pro side, are players booking lessons directly with the pro? Are you guys using the Book a Pro feature in Court Reserve to allow the player to request a lesson directly? How do people start the lesson side of that?
We haven't used the Book a Pro yet because typically it's just in person. Ask them when they see him at the drill or something. We get a lot of phone calls, and again, that's kind of where I put the personal touch on it and just make sure that person gets to the right pro, just because, again, we just have lots of different personality, ages, genders, and it's kind of one of my things I've just kind of held on to for now instead of the Book a Pro, just the personal touch to it. I like to talk to them on the phone and that kind of thing.
Now, as far as like when players, can they book courts directly and just have a singles match or a doubles match, or is it more that they have to call? Can you speak to that?
Yeah, so we have courts 13 through 21 that they can get on and reserve an outdoor court. If you book it online, we assume that they're going to be playing doubles. So we charge $20 for them to play an outdoor match. If they want to do singles, they have to call in and we can change the price to $10. Basically it's $5 a person for 2 hours to book an outdoor court. Indoor court we set up as an event. So they can't go in and just click an open time. There really isn't a whole lot of open time at our facility because we only have 3 indoor courts. So we set the indoor courts up as an event. So they can't go through the reserve or book a court part of court reserve. They have to go into the event category that says indoor court rentals.
Okay. And do you have any restrictions on like number of courts they can book per day or per week?
Not at this point. I mean, I think we do have it set up that they can't book more than 2 courts, and they're really, once spring gets around, there wouldn't be 2 courts that they would be able to get anyway. We get pretty full here. So, people are just grabbing what they can get. But yeah, we try to limit that. So they're not taking up too much of a block.
We're sort of fortunate in the fact that if an event opens up at 10 a.m., it's sold out before 10:01. So people have to really be on it too. So there's not really that much of an opportunity to overdo it.
Good problem.
It's a good problem.
So tell us a little bit more about your tournaments. Do you run specific like UTR events or USTA? You've already mentioned, but do you also run just some in-house tournaments for your players?
Yes, we do. I'm not sure the number of USTA tournaments that we do per year. It's 10 to 12, I think. And then we have just some social tournaments that we do. And a lot of those, like I mentioned earlier, are to raise money for our facility. So if we needed a new shade structure or something like that, we'll run a social tournament and money will all go to specifically buy that shade piece or whatever it is we may have. So right now we have 3 that we ourselves run. One is called the Mimosa Matches, and that's in the spring. And then we have a big triples tournament that we do in the fall. And then we also have a kind of a winter freeze out tournament that we do that's just doubles. That's more in December. And we keep having it year after year. So, but a lot of people come in and they rent our facility to do those specific 501c3 fundraisers. So lots of those social kind of tournaments happen here at Lafortune. We're kind of the hub of it just because of the number of courts and they can really raise a lot of money by using, we usually give them 15 to 16 courts. So we have the rest of them for our purposes, but it's pretty successful, those kind of events as well.
So as far as like marketing or getting the word out about, if I move to your town, I guess it's just people just Google kind of tennis in Tulsa and you guys pop up, or are you out there doing any social media marketing or anything like that?
You want to speak to that, Liz? We don't really have to do much.
We don't have to market much. It's going to be word of mouth. I bet you would come up as the first facility on any Google search. We do have an inquiry on the lafortunetennis.com and it pops in and I, reply to all of those messages and try to kind of head them in the right direction. But yeah.
So tell us about relationships maybe that you have with local high schools. I think you mentioned that maybe. Do you do contract time or do you just have coaches come and bring their teams to practice? Tell us a little bit more about that.
So we have 4 specific teams, correct, that practice here because their facility doesn't have courts at all. One is a public facility right down the road, not too far. So those kids walk here and we actually, under our 501c3, give those kids lessons, coach them, and then they get to practice here at those times. Then we have 3 other private schools, pretty large private schools that contract to use our courts during the school season. We have lots of tournaments besides those 4 schools that'll rent our facility. Again, the same purposes like I mentioned. The others, when we have the social tournaments, the schools will do the same thing and rent our facility for the day. We're kind of just the hub for the high schools so they can host a larger event for their kids to play in. Mostly smaller schools do that because the larger schools in towns have their own courts. So it's kind of nice for them to come and get to play at a nice facility like this and kind of call it their their home too. So we like having the kids. It's a busy time in the spring when they're all here. We're always happy to see them come and happy to see that season end as well till the next year. But it's a good thing.
So there is a great mix there. And you've already kind of mentioned your leagues, USTA leagues. How many do you have total? Do you know?
So we have right near 250 were last year, 2022. So we have the day league, the women play in the day, and then the men play the 18s in the spring and the 40s in the fall. And then we have tri-level USTA that plays mostly in the summer, which is a pretty hot time. The 40s women play in the spring. And like I said, there's 2 18s a day and a night league. So, and then the mixed play on the weekend nights and the seniors play on the weekend mornings. So it's pretty divvied out pretty good. They really consume a lot of our courts, and we just black out the days of all the things we've mentioned earlier, and they can't play on those days, obviously, but they keep our courts busy if we give them courts.
So a lot of the public facilities that I've known, you pay your USTA fee to play in the league, but then do you guys charge them a court fee to play at your facility during their leagues?
We do charge an extra facility fee for them to play here. It's nominal, but they do pay because the USTA actually pays us the court fee. So we have a little extra nominal fee that the players do pay.
Okay. Awesome. So we've got a couple questions, I think, that kind of fit in with some of the things we're talking about. Describing like your front desk setup when you're using Court Reserve. Do you utilize the point of sale in Court Reserve? And do you guys also accept cash along with credit cards and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I came after we started using Court Reserve, so I've heard stories about what it was like before Court Reserve, but Court Reserve has made everything very easy. So we do our billing through Court Reserve, they reserve the courts, but we do have our front desk. We have point of sale for our merchandise, for paying for balls. If they don't want to have a credit card on file and they want to pay for their drill up at the desk, they can do that. So that's where that's going to come in, the point of sale.
Okay.
But mainly we want everything through the reservations instead of,
so I think, Ashley, we started with you all before you had the point of sale. So we were waiting eagerly to start with you when it came. So we've been in the get-go of your point of sale, and it's worked beautifully for us.
Awesome. Very good. Another question, what's your average court fee range? Do you have is it the same price for the, every day of the week, or do you have prime time charges? What does that look like?
It is the same. Like I said earlier, it's basically $5 a person for a 2-hour rental on the outdoor courts. So you get it for 2 hours. It's $10 if you play singles, $20 if you play doubles. On the indoor court, you get an hour and a half for $45. But we only have probably 3 to 4 times during each day that we allow the indoor rentals, because the pros the pros and the open drills and the junior programs have several hours that we have designated for them.
Awesome. Here's a question that's interesting. It says, like, for open play, like a doubles mixer, can people just basically book a spot or just show up? And I guess walk-ins probably would be kind of hard, because since you guys only have a couple slots open per day, just trying to figure out how you guys manage so many people at your facility and how to keep things together.
Well, yeah, that's how Court Reserve has saved us, because everything is signed up. Sometimes we'll have an event, let's say it's a winter one, and we just won't have them pay until we actually have the event. So, but we do signups on everything now. So we know how many players are going to be there. That way we have it staffed just perfectly. We have it planned out. So that has been.
I need to get that plugged in.
I don't have it. Okay, sorry about that.
That's all right.
We're back, right?
You're all good.
So everything, people, you have to reserve a spot, which is a better thing, because we were at the point where we were having to turn people away. So you don't like to do that. So we're fortunate that we'll have a number that's in mind and make sure it's fully staffed. Sometimes we can increase that number if we see it fills up quickly, but we use the reservation system for everything.
Do you guys allow the players to do player self check-in at the front desk, or do you guys check them in, or do you do check-in at all?
For most of our events, well, I guess it's about 50-50. Typically they do not have to check in at the desk because we'll just check them on the court.
Okay, very good. So let's talk a little bit about maybe some of your challenges that you guys, deal with on a day-to-day basis. What you see as some upcoming challenges about how to run your facility.
Well, that's a good one, Liz. Well, what would you consider? I mean, just being fair, just making sure that we're treating everybody the same, and just making sure we're keeping equal time and everybody's able to sign up for the same amount of things. So not signing people up for them. That's one of Liz's things. And we have a 10 o'clock Saturday drill that's super popular. Well, people will call Liz and say, hey, can you sign me up? I'm having trouble. And we had to just kind of like, no, because we just want to be fair and consistent. So that's one of our big mottos, is just let's make sure we're treating everybody the same. Everybody has equal time to sign up and get on to programs.
Do you ever have trouble with people signing up and not showing up?
We have a 4-hour refund policy. So if they don't show up, they already get paid. So they do not get a refund unless it's, some kind of circumstances that they couldn't help. But typically we have the wait list. So the next person will step in. Liz or whoever's working the desk will give that person a call, make sure they can still come. And that works really well for us.
Okay. What's next at Case Tennis Center? What's coming in the next year or two that we can help you guys get excited about?
Well, we're super excited that we are going to get to have 3 more indoor courts, and it probably won't happen until 2024 before we open the doors. But that is going to be a big game changer for us, as we can, add those 3 more indoor courts is pretty big around here because of our weather. Even though we don't have just terribly cold winters all through, we have that rainy season and then stuff that just pops up. So it's nice to have on occasion. And then we have programming, like I mentioned earlier, our special needs, that they need to be on an inside court, and so different scenarios that the seniors, we can sell more courts during the middle of the day because for anybody, because it's hot here in Oklahoma. So the indoor courts is going to be the big game changer for us again.
So if you could, click your heels like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz and make things happen at the facility other than your 3 new courts quicker than anything, what would your wish be?
I think both of us would agree it would be pickleball. We know that it's the wave of the future, and we'd be silly not to jump on that bandwagon. So we know tennis is continuing to grow, and that's our first priority for sure. But we'd love to have a piece of that pickleball as well to be able to service the people, because there's just not enough places for them to really play, especially on the surface that we provide, that instead of a gym surface kind of thing.
So we're going to let them give us some additional information, anything that they want to educate us about, but go ahead and put in your final questions for Melissa and Liz. And do you guys have anything that you'd like to just share about, anything good in the world about tennis or pickleball, or any educational information for our folks today?
Boy,
I am going to give a little disclaimer that if we go away, we are running really low on our iPad battery, and we can't seem to find the charger. So if we disappear, it's been great being with you guys.
Sorry, we can get it right on our.
That's awesome. Oh, one of the questions that I have is your pros. How do they keep up with the continuing education and things to make sure that they're giving their best on the court to your players?
So all of our pros are USPTA certified. They've all been through the Safe Play, Net Generation, USTA background checks, and all the things. So we, in their contract, they're required to keep up with their continuing education, and they do a great job at making that happen and learning new things and making sure they're staying up to date with everything. So we haven't had that problem where they don't want to improve and get better. And I remind them that we still don't know it all, no matter how old we are. So we always have things to learn about our sport. and we want to keep up with that. It's very obvious things have changed just by watching those pros on TV.
What's the age of your oldest player at the facility? Do you know?
We have a fabulous group of men. It's called Woody's group that comes out every single day, as long as the weather is maybe above 35 degrees. And I would say probably up to 90, maybe, wouldn't you say? I mean, 89.
I have a lady in my lessons that's 91. So we know that's for sure that we have a 91-year-old that's still doing drills, and staying very active at it. So we presume there might be a couple others men like she's talking about that might be upward in that 90 range, but it's for all ages. And we have them. My grandson was out yesterday. He's 2. He stayed for the whole little group lesson, although that's just because he was my grandson, but we'll take him any age.
That's awesome. I was going to ask you what your youngest is. So the average age of 2, that's awesome. Let's get them started.
Yeah.
Now, do you guys do any kind of other paddle sports there other than tennis and pickleball? We got paddle and pop and all kinds.
We do not do anything right now. We've recently learned about some new program that's going to start with smaller racks, sort of like pop. I don't think it is the pop program for sure, but I would sure be interested in playing on a smaller court, like a pickleball size court with orange balls and a small paddle, or a racket actually. So more similar to tennis, sort of in between the two. So that would be something I'm always interested in, learning something new like that and providing it for people when they, need it.
So we've got one of our final questions here today. Melissa, being the director, how many hours a week are you still teaching on court?
Well, that's a tough one. I still have about 12 hours of ladies that I have teach, but I don't always do that 12 hours. I have to get people to sub in for me and stuff, but I still have a really good relationship, and it's really a passion of mine to teach. So I try to get in some each week, but I have about 12 hours that I've kept, but that's only a week. So Liz would like me to have 0, but I'm working on it.
Well, thank you again for just being so great about how you guys are doing and all the educational information. We really appreciate it. We'll put this up on our Court Reserve channel, and if anybody wants to see it, for sure. So thank you guys again, and hope spring comes quickly.
Yeah, thank you so much. We enjoyed it. Appreciate it.
Take care, everyone.